Hello. It is so good to be back. I'm so excited to bring this episode of Beyond the Noise, where we try to get past the simple rhetoric of success or failure and try to get into the details of the situation, how we can help people in or out of things. I am extremely elated to be back on. They put me on hiatus. They tried to lock me down with the ice storms and the electricity problems and kick me off for my birthday. I don't really know how to feel about none of that. Miss P, I know you want to say something. Thought it was cool. I was ready for the birthday episode. I had people that were going to shout me out. You know what I'm saying? I did push-ups that day, but whatever, you know what I'm saying? 42 years young, 1 week in the game, and I felt every emotion you can feel. I am on. I do not have the round-faced Mexican girl with me today. She is literally teaching people how to be cool, but I do have, I'm losing some ears in and out, but I do have with me Miss P. Miss Patricia is in the house. Miss P, what's going on?
Nothing much. Happy belated birthday. I didn't get a chance to tell you. I was in hiatus myself for my birthday.
Right on.
In Mexico.
Okay, so you out of line all the time, so it's all good. Before I get to introducing this brother, this good friend of mine, Mr. Robinson, who's our guest, who works high detail security for executives, and we'll get into that in a second. I am really pleased and really excited to announce that Performance Experience is expanding our footprint. We have been blessed with the opportunity to operate in Mansfield at Fit Tribe Gym, owned by Sam and Chris Davis, where there will be adult fitness as well as sports performance. PE will be bringing our program Speed School. We'll be bringing our program Speed School and make sure that we get all the elements necessary to get it all done. Also, you won't find a group of trainers better than the adult fitness group of instructors that we have, as well as our sports performance. So if you have youngsters, if you have middle school athletes, if you have high school athletes, and everything in between, you are more than welcome to join us in our Speed School program. You're going to have to give us a second, folks, because I can't really hear in my headphones. Give us a second to get square.
Is it out?
Yeah, it's heavy on my ear.
Okay.
That's a little better. It's heavy on this one.
It's not rocking.
Oh, we back in the mix. All right, we back.
We good now.
Back in action. Quit touching on
There we
stuff,
go.
man. You over here breaking stuff right when we get started.
I think it's this right here. Yeah.
Breaking stuff right when we get started. But again, we are back in action.
Okay.
We have Speed School in Mansfield, along with one of the most dynamite adult fitness programs you're ever gonna see, right there at Fit Tribe Gym, 2750 North Main Street in Mansfield, Texas 76063. FitTribeGym.com. I want you to check it out. If you're looking for a place where you feel like family, where you will be a part of the tribe, you won't find a better human being to deliver better customer service than Mr. Davis and the team of instructors that we have there. So if you need any help in any arena, then we are there to help. Also, PE will have a very exciting announcement coming up soon about our ability to offer more opportunities for more athletes in multiple sports in a bigger arena to do more for families. I'm really excited about the direction that we're going. I'm really about the opportunities, excited about the opportunities that we can give. And everybody who knows me now knows that. And with all of that being said, today's guest, I have one Mr. Paul Robinson. Paul was born in 1974. He was raised right out there in the great city of New Orleans, where he had the opportunity to be influenced by his father, who has been on all of the news stations there. So to be able to articulate a message, to grab the voice of the people and have an understanding of what needs to be said, Mr. Robinson understands all of that. And he also has had the opportunity to serve this country in the Marine Corps, walked out of the Marine Corps, and now works high detail executive security, and he can tighten up that fade if necessary. So we're talking about a man of many, many talents, one who is very intelligent, and he is strongly opinionated and a very respected, really good friend of mine. We have with us today Mr. Paul Robinson. What's up, brother? What's going on? You doing all right?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing swell, in spite of all of the events we had for the past couple of weeks. Still encouraged, and we're looking forward to this little interaction and talking and chopping it up. So I'm just looking forward to it.
It's different when you're talking to grown folks all the time. You ain't locked up in the room talking to yourself, or you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
We get a chance to have grown up conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Man, let's talk before we get into all that other stuff. You brought up I've been living in Texas probably about 20 some years.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been a part of one degree. And the wildest stuff that we endure. So there were over a million people whose power went out completely.
Right.
You call it what you want, rolling blackout. We're talking about 24, 30 hours, 38 hours without power. You're in a home. It goes 70 degrees, 60 degrees, and now it's 50 degrees. You got elders in the home. You can't go anywhere because the sheets of ice across the road. So you have no heat, no water, and you can't leave. And that's a real situation because we were all going through it. So to see that in the great state of Texas, in a time like this, the one thing and tell me what your thoughts were on it. The one thing that kept coming back to me was, it doesn't matter what you think your status is. Many of us are literally sitting in the same situation, eating the same kind of hell. You know what I'm saying? So what was your thought process on that?
Well, initially, when I woke up, it was about 2:30 in the morning, Monday morning, and the power went out. So I was like, well, maybe it'll be on a few more minutes, maybe an hour, something like that. It tried to come back on, then it immediately stopped. So here we are. Now you have to revert back to prehistoric days. So basically, it was like being in Renaissance. We had to find firewood. Firewood was gone from all the major stores. Then we had to get my wife went out and got the wooden stakes that you have on foundations, like properties when you're building a new home, the kind you mark off. We had to get those. When we ran out of those, then we had to go and get old dresser drawers, and I had to take hammers and hit it and break it up and keep the fire going. I'm like, we are really
trying to figure it out
in survival mode. And it's like, if you're a person who is privileged, if you're a person who feels that you're entitled, then you're really not going to survive in this type of environment. And I'm glad my wife, she's been through some stuff, with Katrina and all that kind of stuff. So she knew certain things to do. So we both worked together, and we pulled ourselves together for a couple of days before we went out to a good friend's house, and went out there and had to stay there until everything got back together. But literally, it makes families either do one or two things. Either you're going to draw together, or you're going to go completely dispersed.
So you were were you in New Orleans during Katrina?
No, I was actually living in Atlanta at the time, because once I graduated from high school in '93, I traveled and went to different states. I didn't never really go back home per se, only for maybe a few months, and then I would just go right back out because, I didn't want to be in that environment anymore.
What is that environment? So how did you grow up?
I grew up at home in New Orleans, Louisiana, on both sides of town. My daddy lived on the greater New Orleans side, which is New Orleans East.
Opposite side, 10, going towards
there you go.
Going towards the dome.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, and my mother lived on the West Bank in Algiers. So it was like two different type of worlds. Well, my mother grew up it was a nice area when she was a kid, but the undesirables and the unwanted were over on that side of town. When my daddy lived it was more of the middle class, upper middle class, so it was a little bit different. So I grew up on both sides of town. I was raised on both sides of town. So I saw the worst of the worst, and then I've experienced the best of the best.
Was that demographic more economic? Was it based in? Did the economic demographic, was it multicolored? Like, was it, you had all kinds of people, or was it majority black on one side, or majority Hispanic, or majority white?
It's in New Orleans. You have nothing but black people.
Mm-hmm.
Where I grew up, it was
There's
nothing.
some white people out there.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm just saying, where I grew up at, on my mother's side, it was nothing but black people.
Mm-hmm.
My daddy's side, totally different.
Mm-hmm.
You had your whites, you had your blacks, you had a little bit of everything over there, but it was still the majority of maybe white and a good bit of black. It wasn't like overwhelmingly white, but you had your good mixture of successful black people, like people that were high-ranking police officers, lawyers, football players.
Successful titles.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right. So you had a good variety. So I grew up on both sides, seeing both sides.
What was the difference in what you saw other than poverty?
Well, what I saw was a hard-working man out of my daddy. He was a hard-working man. He had great work ethic. He instilled that in me from as early as I can remember. Rather, I've seen other people that he's been around who did the same thing. They worked. They put their best foot forward. Nobody complained because they came from a different era. Right. You had to go out, you had to work, you had to
get it in.
Right, you had to prove yourself, to show yourself worthy of what you wanted to earn. So, all I saw was people working hard and doing the best they could, and you had no excuse.
They didn't allow it.
No.
Because you saw a lot of success.
Right, you saw it, so you had no excuse. You had no leeway. It's no excuse. Either you do or you don't.
Did you have to? That's a great point, because did you live in the example of what you saw or what you were told and taught? For example, like, I probably shouldn't say this. Mama, forgive me. But I couldn't stand going to church when I was younger like that, man. We was always in there. I didn't know what was going on. Nobody could answer my questions. So I had to go by the example of, I guess I can't say nothing because nobody in here, because of what I was told.
Right.
But what I thought, what I saw, and what was, it really didn't match.
No, it didn't.
You know what I'm saying?
It didn't.
But at home,
right,
I was taught things about respect, understanding, having a voice. So it matched, like my dad's actions matched what he said. You know what I'm saying? My mom's actions matched what she said.
Right.
So, in the hood, you know what I'm saying? Cat talk about he gonna slap across your head. That action gonna match. He just waiting on you to show yourself.
Right.
But and so for you, on the hardworking upper middle class side of town, did you base your activity on what you saw or what you were taught, or a combination?
Combination of both.
Okay.
Because with my daddy coming up, it was just like, hey man, this is what you have to do. He would always tell me this. He said, son, the road paved to hell is filled with good intentions.
Your mom and dad were separated.
They got divorced when I was 6.
But your dad was always around.
Oh, he was all. My dad was always a phone call away.
So you didn't have a 2-parent.
No.
But you were always consistent with.
Always consistent.
How important was that?
Very much instrumental, very imperative, because in my opinion, in my knowing facts, you have to have both. You have to have a balance. You have to have the yin and the yang. And if I'm just going to be honest, my mama is a sweet woman. Never could disrespect my mama because she did a whole bunch of stuff. One of the sweetest ladies you could ever want to meet, just like my mother-in-law. She's like my mama as well. The same way, just good-natured, good-spirited women, and they just see the best out of everybody. But the thing is I had to learn, once the scales started coming off my eyes and I got into the world, I learned that the world is very, very, very much faced in how you are presented certain things. And if I didn't have that man guidance, the bad, quote unquote, the bad guy, to show me these things, then I would have been oblivious to it and it would have sucked me in. And I probably would have been sitting in state penitentiary somewhere, or death row, or possibly dead.
So he did not keep you from the world. He
No,
tried to prepare you for what the world was going to
he
do.
gave me the tools that were essential for me to navigate above turbulence.
Let me ask you a question. How hard do you think that was for him, knowing that he cared about you? Because I know parents want to protect their kids. That's natural.
Right.
But I say all the time, hey man, that ain't. You hear me say it all the time, hey man, that's your baby.
Right.
That ain't the world's
Right.
baby. You know what I'm saying? The world don't care. You know, the job don't care.
No.
What you care and you think that you should be treated a certain way, but the world don't.
Exactly.
So how do you? Because you have kids now.
Yeah, I'm a father of 4.
So we're gonna stay in this arena. So you saw the things that your dad taught, and that's the way you know how to teach.
That's the way, yeah.
What if they don't receive it the way you received it?
Well, see, then we have to do it by the personalities and the characteristics of that child. And one thing that I always prided myself in was, you know, one of the most things I've always wanted to do as a man when I was growing up. I said I always wanted to be a good daddy. So I pride myself on trying to be a real model, not a role model. Because when you are rolling, you're acting. You're not being who you're supposed to be, who you really are. Right, you're playing a role. But I try my best to tell my children everything that I've done and why I know so much because of what I did or what I've experienced or what I saw. So I always try to give them the pure, unadulterated, unfiltered truth.
Did that come from a place of fear? Did that come from a place of understanding? Did that come from a place of I have to prepare you so you're not afraid of the things that are going to come your way?
I did it out of love because the thing is, if I don't tell you this, then when you go out there, the first thing you're going to do is say, you didn't tell me.
You didn't let me know.
Why didn't you tell me? So I'd rather you be mad at me now. I'd rather you be upset with me now. But when you get old enough, when that aha moment comes, when that I see what he was saying comes, then we can have a different type of relationship.
Yeah.
You see,
like me and my dad.
Right. It's a different type of appreciation. So I'm a parent from the ages of 0 till about 16. When you become 17 and 18 and thereon, the yelling is over. We're just talking now. And I'm trying to guide you and give you suggestions on what I would do if I was in your position. Because now you got to understand, they have a different type of mindset. They may have come through you, but they're not you. They may have certain characteristics of you, but they're not you. So you got to respect that as well.
Man, I almost went to a break. I was like, what? Okay. Because many people think that their child is a reflection or a portion or a representation of them, not what they're trying to aspire to be. So how do you understand the difference between influencing, encouraging, or trying to make the child be something that they weren't in the first place? And I see that all the time. I deal with parents all the time.
Unrealistic.
And parents end up being the spokesperson for the kid, and the kid didn't even really want to say that. So a lot of times that their voice is muffled. So it's difficult because there's a lot of emotion. Like you want your kid to succeed. That's why they're sitting in there. You want your kid to have these things, the things you didn't have.
Right.
But again, they're not you.
No.
So how do you teach them how to find out who they are?
My advice is always this. If you have a passion, whatever it is, as long as it's positive and as long as it's productive, it's all right with me.
It ain't illegal or immoral.
You don't have to go to a university to be a quote unquote success. You can get more in debt with partial scholarships and loans, and by the time you get out, you be paying 30 years down the line. So my thing is, whatever your passion is, go after it. And I'm going to encourage you in that lane. Therefore, it's not an excuse for you to tell me, well, you always wanted me to be this. No, whatever it is you want to be, I'm going to support that and encourage you and push you into that arena. Now, after that, you're on your own.
Right.
But I'm going to tell you the truth in what I see. I'm going to tell you the truth in what I know. And the rest is up to you.
I got a question for the people online, and I want them to really think about this. Miss P, if you can put this question, I really want people to answer it. And it has everything to do with what they think about their child. Like, so I'm asking, what is the most important lesson that you as a parent, and I'm gonna ask you after she types this, the most important lesson that you as a parent is teaching your child? And what are you most afraid of for your child? So, Paul, what do you think is the most important lesson that you're teaching your children?
Just being a person with integrity.
What is, define integrity?
Well, my definition of integrity is very simple. The person that you display yourself to be on the outer skirts of your home
Is who you are inside.
is who you are inside. In other words, don't put up a character out there and then you are totally against what your principles are according to what you say out there.
Okay.
I pride myself on integrity. In other words, what you see is what you get. I take pride in that because it's like when people feel your spirit as an individual and you link up with them, you know, I said, I don't know much about that person, but that person seems to be, I think that person is really genuine about who they are. And that's what I take pride in, as far as having integrity and let my yes be yes and my no be no, and just be as completely honest as I could be. That doesn't mean it's always about being right or wrong, but it's about having an understanding about what it is, what a person is trying to accomplish or what their viewpoint is.
Let me ask the other question, but I'm gonna hold this one because I got one. I wanna be fair on all sides.
Right.
So let me ask, what are you most afraid of for your kiddos?
What I'm most afraid of for my children is for them to live a lie.
What do you mean?
Meaning, don't do stuff to impress me. Don't do stuff to say this is what I think you wanted me to do. I want you to be strong in who you are. I want you to stand 10 toes flat and stand on it and really have your own mindset, not to put yourself in a box and to think outside of that box and to be who you truly are. You know, don't do stuff to impress other folks. You do stuff for you.
You know what? We are here with Paul Robinson. We're talking about the dynamics of being a kid and the things that you learn and things you're encouraged to be and do, and standing on your own and being who you are. I have parents online, and before we get into some of the answers, I'm going to ask a very hard question. We as adults, we love to say, Miss P, you know, Kenny, we always talk about, you know, what kids understanding who they are and knowing who you are, but what if all you know is who you're not?
Right.
So, and I mean that in the most sincere way.
Right.
Like when you, when as a 12, 13, 14-year-old boy, and I want all parents with boys to understand this because I have been 12, 13, 14-year-old boy.
Right.
My dad is a huge influence in my life. I love him to death, but here's the reality. My dad has only been dad. I didn't know him. I didn't know he was going through some of the same stuff I was going. So I'm looking to people who look the most comfortable, who look like me, that I'm getting information from. Like I'm trying to figure it out.
Right.
At 25, if you spent your life from 0 to 18 being instructed and told what to do, where to go, how to do, and then when you graduate, hey, congratulations, you're grown, get on out there. I'm still starting at 0. I'm a kiddo, you know what I'm saying? So I still don't know who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I just know who I'm not and who I'm trying not to be.
Right.
So how do you stand 10 toes down?
Right.
How do you stand in integrity?
Right.
How do you not waver
Mm-hmm.
when you just not finding out who you're not?
Right. It's a slippery slope.
Hmm.
That right there. That's why when you interact with your children, the most important thing is to allow them to have what you call, I call it taking the filter off.
So no taboo.
No, right.
That's what I say.
So in
about
other
it.
words, if I'm talking to my son, I say, son, we're taking the filter off.
Mm-hmm.
We ain't talking to your mama. It's man talk. You know, tell me what's going on, and we gonna get down to it. You know, I said, now remember, this is me and you talking. You can't talk like this with your mama because your mama ain't trying to hear that stuff. Let us talk and let's find out.
So you allow him
I'll allow
his
him
voice.
Right. To me, that's the most important thing because if you want your children to talk to you, you have to give them the avenue. And if they say, my daddy gives me an avenue, you know, if he gives me an avenue, then, you know.
Your daddy gives you an avenue.
If he gives me an avenue, then I can have the same approach when I deal with anybody else. So I don't have to take no wooden nickels off of nobody. I don't have to sit up there and accept what Johnny Blow said over here or what Pookie and them said over there. You know, I'm my own individual. You know, I have my own fingerprint. I have my own spirit. I have my own character, and I should be proud of that. And walk in that, and don't be ashamed. You don't have to be the fastest. You don't have to be the tallest or the most good looking. You know, there's beauty in more of the simplest things than it is when you're just looking at the obvious.
That's true.
So that's what I try to tell my children. I said, you can be as pretty as you want to. You can be as fine as you want to. You can be as gifted as you want to. But what's going to happen if that fades away? Who are you when you strip all of that stuff off? I said, because Dad is the same when he get up in the morning. I don't have to put on makeup. I am who I am all day long. It's not going to change. And I'm going to still love you. But that doesn't mean everybody else got to love you.
So I'm going to ask you another hard question. Miss P, I'm going to ask you too, and then we're going to get to the questions on the line. When did you find out who you were? When did you know?
I'm going to tell you when I knew. When I left in 1993 to go to the Marine Corps, and I was venturing out and doing certain things that my daddy told me that I was going to experience and all of this stuff. When I found out who I was is when I was faced with something, whether to basically ruin my life, then I found out who I was. When I was about to do something again on the second time, when I got older, the universal God would not allow me to do that. And I mean, I was going to do it. Nobody can talk me out of it. I am going to do this, come hell or high water, and let the chip fall where they may. But the universal God did not allow that to happen. So then I said to myself, there must be a bigger purpose for me. And every time I want to go out there and do something against what that I know is not right, something always comes in to pull me back from it. And I wanted to do it. Really, I wanted to do it. But the universal God wouldn't allow me to do it. He stopped me every single time. And that's how I knew who I was. So immediately when I went to those things, I got on the phone, I said, Dad, I got to call you and tell you, man. What you talking about, son? I said, Dad, I got to call and tell you, you were right.
You were right.
He said, what you mean? I said, no. I said, let me explain. I said, when I was growing up, I hated you. I said, I thought you were the meanest man in the world. I said, I used to pray for your death every day. I said, but now that I'm living, I got to appreciate what you've done. I said, because I want to say this before you get out of here or I get out of here. Because I don't know if you're going to get out of here first or me. But I want to give you your flowers while you're alive, because so many men are decimated and degraded down to nothing in today's society. And I said, I got to give you your total honor and praise for not letting me just do what I wanted to do. I said, because that's the real thing about love. When you love somebody, you're going to tell them what's needed, not what you want.
You worried about how you feel. You
No.
worried about what's real.
It's about what's reality. You know, so I had to give him that. Honor, because it's like, I really thought I knew something. And now that I'm at the age that I'm at now, I still don't know nothing. The more you think you know, the less you do know. So everything's about learning and unlearning, relearning. It's not as cut and dry as it is, because traditionally this is what we were taught, but it was not a known fact. It was just a tradition.
And it was a continual setting of information for you to be educated in a certain arena.
Right.
So Miss P, when did you find out who you were?
You know what? Mine story is very similar. It was going through things that I should not have been doing. And I finally, I went to a club. I was in the club, and I fell asleep. Knocked out sleep. And it was just the grace of God. This guy actually got me out without anything happening to me. He was like, you need to wake up. He said, because something's going to happen to you.
Right.
And then that's when I realized, I don't need to be out here.
You ain't the world's best.
Nope.
Right.
They don't care about you.
Right. And when I left, that's when I started doing a lot of meditating on who am I? What am I here for? And that's when I started getting a lot of visions of, I'm here for a bigger purpose. I have bigger things for you to do in life.
Around how old were you?
That was my late 20s.
Okay.
Yeah, I was late 20s.
Because I'm going to ask you guys some more questions. So what we got online, Miss P, because I want to make sure I got the temp. And we got here with Paul Robinson. He's dropped more gems in the past 5 minutes than, I don't know, because I ain't been here. Well, let's go, Miss P. What do you see online?
So far, they're thumbs up, but no one's saying anything.
Okay.
They thumbing up.
It's a difficult situation, because
Yeah.
here's the thing. You found out who you were through an experience. You found out who you were through experience, and both of y'all was grown.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna ask you again. Like when I'm 12 and 13, and the world is telling me who I am, and they're telling me in ways that I have to accept or reject. Like if I'm a good athlete, the world tells me, and they praise me, and they're on my back. So even if I don't want to play, I'm being pushed in a direction that I may or may not be. So we're trying to protect kids from life, but we won't let them find out who they are through experience. So when you're 18, you start over again.
Yes.
So again, how do we be fair? How do we be reasonable? And how do we help these kids understand that you're not the world's baby? Because I deal in athletes and kids all the time. And what I've learned is the outcome is usually at the forefront and overshadowed by the importance of the process. For example, we got a young man, shout out Jacob LeHue. He had he tore his knee up, ACL twice. Going into his senior year, he was wondering if he'll get a chance to run track again. He didn't know if he was going to be able to actually run again. We got him in the summer, it might have been June. And when I saw him, we started working with him, and I just told him straight out, I was like, don't be surprised. When it's time to run. The only thing you have to worry about is your condition, because your knee won't be a factor. Now, I wasn't saying that at height. I know what the process is. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know the process, so I knew he wasn't going to win his first meet. Logically, there's no, this ain't a Hollywood story, this ain't Disney story. But what he accomplished from the summer to the ability to go out now and compete at a level he didn't think he'd be able to walk around the track and to be excited about knowing how to do things, that kid is liberated in the fact that he understands how to endure a process that's going to get him the result he wants. But most people just saw that he came 5th out of 15 people in a race. So he and I had that conversation today. Shout out to Jacob, and we were both smiling and excited about where he was, not what the result was. I live my life in results. Like you either make this or you'll fail. But my people didn't put that pressure on me. So why did I do that? Like who am I to force fit things that only matter to the people that they matter to? Because what it did was it didn't allow me to know who I was when I took that jersey off or that uniform off. Everything was based in win, loss, pass, fail, succeed, fail, number one or no number.
Right.
So when you take the name off the back and you ain't got no representation on the front,
right,
there is no competition, so you don't know if there's purpose.
Right.
So again, I knew who I wasn't.
Right.
We expect these kids to know who they are. We're not giving them a voice.
You got to give them
Your parenting style allows them to understand that I'm not talking to you about now. I'm talking to you about going forward. I'm talking to you about you.
Right.
So in athletics, in academics, and pushing towards success, the question is, what's the most important thing that your kids get in order to be successful? Is it having success? Is it winning or losing? What's the most important thing?
The most important thing is being comfortable with who you are, period. Because you have monetary gain, that don't mean nothing. You can have Heisman Trophy, you can have all the accolades, Hall of Fame, you can have champions, but you can still feel like nothing. So my thing is, I always tell them, success is not about the accomplishments and the monetary goal that you got. That's fine. Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking it.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. But when the lights are off you, who are you? If you don't have any money, who are you? If you don't have the accolades, who are you?
If you do have
it, who are you? So the thing is, all I've ever had was my personality. All I ever had was if you knew any other people that I've ever been around, I guarantee you, and I don't even have to talk to them, but if you would have asked them from the time I was a child up until now, they would probably tell you the same thing about me. This is who he is.
So we're here with Paul Robinson, Ms. P. We're taking a lot of information in. If there's something online that you want to interject with, please do. So let me ask you this. You went into the Marines at 18 years old, correct?
Well, I was 19.
19 years old. Now, they didn't allow you to be who you thought you was. You had
Oh, no, you had to be with them. Yeah.
How did you deal with that?
Well, I was, of course, a rebel because I dealt with that with my daddy for years.
Did you sign up for that?
I signed
So
up for
how
it.
can you rebel against something you signed up for?
Exactly. So it was in the latter part of me being in there. At first, I did everything I was supposed to do, and I did what I was supposed to do. Top PF tier, did my thing without any issue. But the politics of it is where I began to rebel. In other words, if I saw something that was unjust, and you try to tell me something, try to pull I said, hey man, I'm not going for that. What do you mean? I said, listen, I don't like all that. I said, either you are or you're not. I said, if it's something that I've done wrong, I can take that chewing out. If it's something that I've done wrong, I can literally say, hey, that's my fault, you're right. Okay, I'm gonna make my adjustments, I'll take my punishment. No problem. But when certain people saw my personality, and I wasn't going along to get along, that's when they had problems with me. When they had certain functions, are you going to come? No, I'm not going. Well, why not? You're a Marine. I said, well, I don't feel like I'm a Marine. What do you mean?
What does that mean? Yeah, what does that mean?
What do you mean? I said, okay, when you're having conversations, you say, well, that dark green Marine. And then when you see the Latinos, you say the brown Marine. And then when you see the white one, you say the Marine.
You know what? Not every corps was like that, because I've had conversations with people in the Marine Corps, and they were literally a brotherhood. They understood the importance of each other. There was not a label outside of the brotherhood, like teammates. But how in the world can you teach a lesson of integrity and equality in the United States services and feel unequal or rejected?
Let me tell you. Honestly, I can literally say, I'm a brother to whomever wants to be a brother. If you are not for brotherhood, then get the heck away from me. But I've experienced some of the most racism, gang violence, drugs when I was in the United States. Marine Corps. This is what I experienced. This is my experience because I was in the infantry units. See, a lot of other units are different, but when you're in the infantry, you are a trained assassin. You trained to kill and wait for war and to go kill people and mothers and daughters and children and sons. This is what you're trained to do. And I'm gonna tell the pure, unadulterated truth. This stuff is ugly. So if I wasn't taught these things as a young man coming up, that this is what you're gonna face, I would have went in there oblivious to that, and it would have took me under.
Because you'd have been prepared.
Right.
That would have been your whole truth.
Right. So when I went there and I experienced that, I would tell them, whatever my job is, this is what I'm gonna do. But all that other stuff, y'all can take that somewhere else, because there's only a line that you're not gonna cross. I said, because at the end of the day, I'm a man first. So if you disrespect me as a man, I got a problem with you no matter what title you hold. So this has always been my creed. So it's like, I'm not no Billy Bad behind nothing like that, but I am gonna protect my manhood and myself at all times.
You're man before you
right.
anything else.
So that's why I was a rebel in that regard. But as far as sitting down, having a conversation with people and interacting with them,
you weren't rebellious.
No.
Yeah.
But the thing was, I was a person that gave you what you gave me. So in other words, if I felt that you were a person according to your spirit and how you treated me, that's how I'm gonna give it back to you.
So you big on reciprocity.
Yes.
It's got to make sense.
It gotta make sense.
Man, so we're talking about moving in a manner of protecting and serving, of war, or understanding of the seeing things across the world.
Right.
And now you have a career in the same style. It's not the same field, but
Right.
it's security, protection, things of that nature. You protect people with titles and people with names. Knowing what you know in the services, and then going into that field, what's the justification? How do you justify that? And you may have to turn over some of those same actions.
Right. The thing is what a leader is a person who serves. And it's just something natural, I guess, because from the time I can remember as a little boy, I'm 5 years singing to my sister, which she'll be, her birthday is tomorrow. So
shout out, what's her name?
Jackie Robinson.
Shout out to Miss Jackie Robinson.
Yeah, so that's my sister. So I'm 5 years senior to her. So I was always, when my mama and daddy were busy working, I was always looking out. So it's a natural instinct for me to want to look after or protect. So it's a natural inclination for me to do that. So it's like, right. So my thing is I don't mind doing those things, but there's a way I want to be treated. And to me, being a person that has humanity, you have to know if you want to be treated a certain kind of way, you have to give it. So I try my best to embark upon that plateau by doing that to the fullest of my ability. Like I said, I'm not perfect, but if you tell me I've done something wrong and this was on my watch, then I'm going to do my best to adjust that. But if you treat me a certain kind of way, now we got a problem.
That makes sense to me.
We got a problem.
Yeah, because the most important thing for you is respecting integrity.
That's it.
And that's what you try to instill.
That's what I try to instill, right.
Through the understanding of experience.
Right.
Man, I just said some stuff I could roll in a book. That sounds kind of cool. But with that being said, if parents have anything to say about the direction, about the information, about the understanding, because we all want to protect the people that we love.
Right.
And we all want to do for the people that we can, unless you don't. I mean, that's just the way it is. But I think it's real interesting, us as adults. You know, once we learn these things and we go through these things, sometimes we fire it off as if young people should know these things.
Right.
We forget we were young.
We were young.
And we forget these kids need a voice.
Right.
And that way we can guide the direction of what they're talking about.
Yep.
But if we think our kid is the most important thing. That's selfish, and we miss the mark on.
We in trouble when you think like that.
We
We
keep
in trouble.
moving our kids because the results of success aren't what we think they should be,
you're in trouble.
without understanding of the process. You run into a cycle of I didn't get because of injury, politics, attitude, yada yada yada. So let me ask you this: I've earned a few things in my life.
Right.
So I'm negative. I work diligently to screw things up.
Right.
However, then I had to go fix it. So I had to work harder to fix what I screwed up.
Right.
But when I was preparing for something, I was given so many things. How do you explain to a child that if you work hard, you'll get what you deserve or what you work for? When the truth is, if you prepare for things, you'll be given what you ask for.
Oh, that's true.
Right, that's the truth.
That's
but
true.
not in America.
No.
In America, titles and monetary gain lead the way. So you're convinced.
Right.
You work hard for everything you get. Let me tell you something. I'm one of the hardest working people I know. Most of the stuff I got,
Given to you.
Right. It is.
So how do you not be lazy?
Right.
And know how to be still?
Right.
How do you be aggressive and work, but not rush?
Right.
And not pay as much attention?
Right.
How are you diligent?
Right.
How do you teach diligence when we try to rush things?
Right.
When we think our 10-year-old should be playing a 12-year-old.
Right.
When we think our kid is the smartest kid in the class.
Right.
When we think we know all the answers. How can we teach that lesson of diligence and move away from because I work hard, I deserve it? Because I know that ain't true. And I tell all my kids that you need to understand it, learn the skill, and perfect it so you give it an opportunity that you can keep. Because once you get it, you earn the chance to keep it.
Right.
How do we flip that?
See, this is why I love Kobe Bryant so much. I heard him say something in one of his interviews. He says, "I'm impatiently patient." So that means he said, I was impatient about wanting to be great at my craft, but I was impatiently patient. That means I was intense with it, but at the same time I knew there was different steps to get to where I wanted to be. And he said through those struggles, that's what made it more beautiful. He said, so I was impatiently patient. In other words, I knew this is what I had to do to get there, but I was just so intense with trying to get there. So I'm gathering from that type of mindset. It's like when they say favor ain't fair.
Right.
Whenever you're so busy about what you have to do for yourself, and people see you trying and grinding and going out there, then they say, I'm gonna help that person.
I'm gonna rock with that cat.
Right.
This joker, because he's working, he's trying, he ain't asking for nothing. He's trying his best. He's not complaining. He's out there trying to get it. He's humble. He's listening to advice. He's putting it into what he wants to do. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna give it an opportunity, because guess what? You're putting yourself in a position to receive something. Because my dad used to tell me this. He said, even when you get up in the morning, son, and you go out to the mailbox, don't walk outside with your pajamas on. He said, have your clothes on, have your shoes on, look presentable, have your pants creased, have your shirt creased, because you don't know who's looking at you. You don't know what's out there.
That's true.
So he said, so when you walk, he said, I'm going to tell you an example. He said, you see these jokers around here, how they walking around with house shoes on and pajamas, who going to take them seriously? He said, who going to take them seriously when you walk around that Jerry Curl juice bag on your head? Who's going to take you seriously? Nobody's going to take you seriously if you are so lax about yourself.
That's true.
You have to present yourself as something. In order for you to get something, you have to present yourself as something. You can't get nothing if all you do is just sit back and just
wait for stuff.
It ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen, because it's going to pass you by. If you let 8 hours pass in a day, you just wasted 8 hours. When you're born, there's a date. When you die, there's a date. But the most important thing between them dates is that dash in between those dates. That's what you do. in between that time, because you always have one thing in common. You have time.
Yeah, you got to start date and end date.
That's it.
That you got time.
And you ain't gonna miss neither one of those.
Yep. They guaranteed.
They're guaranteed. So it's about what you do in between that time. So when you put yourself out there, something's coming. But you have to just stay more determined to do it, and patiently patient. So that's what I gather from that, and that's what I try to tell my children. Listen, you might not get a championship. You might not get exactly what you really want, but if you keep the effort going, it's gonna be worth it. I said, just like a woman that's pregnant. It ain't pretty. Those months carrying that child, it ain't pretty.
Yeah.
That's why I tell my wife all the time, look, that's your decision, baby. That's your body. I got to watch you. All I can do is support you as best as I can. Ain't nothing else I can do for you. That's you. That's your body. You know, I thank God I'm a man. I ain't trying to go through all that stuff. You know what I mean? So, so the thing is, at the end, you have this child. So in order for me to pay the universe back for giving me this child, I have to do what's imperative for them to be better in the universe that they're going to acquire. So that's what I want to extend as my legacy, is to say, hey man, you don't have to be A, B, C, and D. Just be the best version of you. And whatever you see fit with that, as long as it's positive and productive, then that's fine. You know, but if you want to be a bum, you don't want to do nothing, that's on you. It ain't going to be because I didn't show you. And I'm not going to lose no sleep at night. If that's what you want to be, hey, tip my hat to you. And if you want to come home for Sunday dinner, make sure you're clean. And we gonna feed you, and then you can go on about your business.
Well, how do we, in a world where we specifically, because I'm not gonna blame society, because we live in this same society. That means we have the opportunity.
You have the opportunity to change. To change it. Yeah.
So how do we operate in a society where we sometimes view the result or the outcome as the most important thing, not the understanding of the process to get the outcome that you want, or that we put our own situations in other people's hands so we can blame the failure, or when we don't know that there are steps for us to take, how do we find a way to get people to open those doors or have an understanding based on just a limited amount of information or education or indoctrination before we experience and discover. Because what I've learned is you can tell me what you want. You can teach me what I need. But I'm going to learn lessons the way I learn. You know what I'm saying? Like some people, it don't matter what the sign says about the stove being hot. They got it.
They got it. Yeah. They got it.
For me, if I know just enough to start it, I'm doing it.
That's it.
And I've sat on my hands and been like, I know I need to sit still, I'm gone. Knowing that the outcome ain't gonna be the way I need it to be because I don't know enough yet. But I can't step away from the aggression. Can't. That's who I am.
That's who you are.
The same thing that makes me things good is makes things not good. But I'm learning that the more work I do with the intent of understanding the process, the more I get what I want. So how do we help kids understand that your life is for you to find out how to operate your life. You know, because the people closest to us are the ones we're gonna believe. The people that act like us or sound like us are the ones that we're gonna cling to. And also, what you show people is what they say about you. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So how do we give them a chance to know that although there are rules, regulations, there are guidelines, there are things you have to do as a kid just because you're a kid. There are things you have to do at school just because you're at school, that you still have the power to be selfless enough to consider the ways of others in this process without us being selfish and believing the results. How do we do that?
Well, the best way to do that, in my opinion, is called self-check, self-evaluation. In other words, whatever it is that you're looking at and you want to achieve, according to what others say or what you feel or what somebody told you. Is you, whatever you do, go on your computer or take a piece of paper, write it down. Self-check. Self-evaluation.
Self-inventory.
There you go. So this is the thing. As well as you were saying earlier about when folks say, well, is this person's fault? That, you see, that's what you call deflection. Because you don't want to deal with the truth about what's in you. So when you self-evaluate and you measure it up to what it is that you want to do, then you'll see where you are and who you are. But then you sit up there and say to yourself, what am I really good at? Where am I coming short at? So then when you look at those evaluations, you say, well, look, this is what you said. And this is where you want to be. So in order for you to get here, then you have to eliminate this, and stop making excuses and put the power in your hand. So if this is what you want, and even with me, to this day, because I have those moments, and you have to say, you know what? I got to get back to the root of being me. Because at the end of the day, I don't need people's validation. Because if you live on people's validation, then when they're against you, you're done. So you have to be convinced and persuaded about who you are and be unapologetic about it and let the chip fall where they may. So that's what I try to tell my children. I said, baby, look. I'll tell my son, look here, boy. Let me tell you something. At the end of the day, you have to be comfortable and know. And I'm giving you the avenue. You don't have to impress me. I want you to feel good about yourself. Because at the end of the day, when you're sitting down, you are thinking about yourself. Because guess what? When I close my eyes, I ain't thinking about nothing but what I got to do. And the thing that's sad is you are going to die alone. Even if you have people around you. That is your journey. You are going to die alone. So you have.
Is that sad though?
It's a sad feeling, but at the same time, if you understand what I'm saying, it's not. Because I want to be judged off of my merit. So what I put into this, I'm being sincere because I know what I want my outcome to be. And if I seek that, then I believe it'll be fulfilled. But I said, if I could, I used to tell my mom all the time, if I could just help one person, then I feel I've done my job. You know, and I would love for my children who I'm around every day to get it. But if it's somebody that's looking at this right now, or if it's somebody I pass on the street or people I'm doing work for, if I can influence one person, just one person, I've done my job. You know, and that's what I want for us as a whole, as black people. Man, listen, all of these things that we're looking at, they're obstacles. There ain't nothing new. This ain't nothing new under the sun. But you have to self-evaluate and look at the facts, not your feelings. Look at the facts.
Can't put ice on feelings.
Look at the facts. They're undeniable. You have to look at it and say, you know what? We dropped the ball. And we got to stop promoting ignorance and foolishness and just buffoonery and saying that's being black, which is so far from the truth. Because I want to be righteous, because I want to be a person of prestige, that means I want to be white. You need to get out of there with that foolish talk. That's foolish. You take pride in deviancy. You take pride in degeneracy. You take pride in ignorance and being dumbfounded. That's not the people I come from. Not the people I come from. I'm just talking about who I come through. That's not their legacy. So why are we adopting foolishness, but you're called a sellout, Tommy, or whatever? Well, call me whatever you want. But at the end of the day, you set the limits on yourself. You set and you determine how you want to be treated. But my thing is, if the men are in line and get some men around, everything else gonna fall in line. I ain't worried about the women. Because naturally, a woman wants to follow a man. Naturally, it's in her nature. But so many of our boys have been broken down to being effeminate. Being effeminate. So that's why you say ain't no good men, because y'all created them. Y'all created them. You don't want nobody to tell your baby nothing. You don't want the coach to tell your baby nothing. You don't want the teacher to tell the baby nothing.
Try to protect it from the world.
And that's the problem. But the same thing you complain about is what you created. How can Dr. Frankenstein be mad about Frankenstein?
About the monster. How can you be
Huh?
mad about
The monster's going to be the monster.
Yeah.
You created the monster. You should be afraid of yourself because you crazy. You know, you're crazy. You can't complain about something you create. So that's what I try to imply with my children and with other people. That's why a lot of folks don't like talking to me. Because I'm like, man, listen, man. Warranted. We know what we face every day, man. But we got to look at ourselves too. You mean to tell me everybody you meet
against you?
Come on, man. Everybody you meet. Oh, we see they hurt my man.
Let me tell you something. I have been helped way more than I've been home. I don't have a lot of enemies that I know of, and people are genuinely fair and good to me. And the truth is, why I don't know. I mean, I don't mistreat people, but I mean, I ain't Mother Teresa. You know what I'm saying? I don't. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't start problems, but. I'll jump in a fight. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I don't always use the best language, you know what I'm saying? So I always wonder, like, what was it that somebody looked at me like, you know, I'm gonna help that young fella. I'm gonna help that old fella, you know. It's so interesting to hear and say that because that's a part of who I've learned I am. So I know we got to get ready to wrap up, man. You have given, we didn't get a chance to talk about our stuff we want to talk about, but anyway, I want you to, Miss P, as we always do, I want you to leave the people with a thought based on what we think about how we can better prepare the youngsters in a life situation to at least understand the importance of tolerance and not judging based on result or title, but based in integrity and process. I know I just said a lot, so what I'm saying is
thank you.
Leave them with something. Leave the people with something that you think is important.
I think we need to let our kids have a voice and let them be able to experience life through their eyes as well, instead of us wanting to be the eyes for them and the voice for them. But let them see life through their own experience and learn through that.
Indeed.
And don't judge.
And don't judge.
Already have.
Exactly. And I think if they have that experience, they won't be so judgmental. Because they'll know if I fail, this person could fall too.
There you go.
Leave them with something, Paul, and don't kill them with too much because I got to go last and I don't want to follow you. You say something amazing, I'm just going to shut the show.
No, my only thing is to just stay encouraged and just be confident in who you are and just keep working, man. You know, we ain't perfect by no means, and there's never going to be a perfect person, but you want to reach maturity. And when you reach maturity, then you know you'll be fine. But just stay encouraged. As I'm saying this to myself as well.
Yep.
You know, just stay encouraged, man, and keep going, and don't let nothing stop you from what you got to do. All right.
I'm so glad to be back. A couple of things I want to say. Number one is we have to understand that I think the most important thing to be sometimes is fair. Like you want to be fair to the situation, you want to be fair and reasonable to the people in it. And in order to be fair, you have to eliminate two things. You have to eliminate ego and judgment. And those are difficult because we're taught to judge. You sit in church, you're taught that certain people are evil, and you're going to judge them according to their title. If you grew up in certain neighborhoods, you learn that certain people are cruel or they're criminal, so you judge them according to what you see. But if we take the time to eliminate or not lead with how we feel, because it's okay, gentlemen, young males, young athletes, it's okay to feel the way you feel.
Right.
It's okay, and that's all it is. If you sad, don't let people say, don't be sad. Man, be sad.
That's all
Just
right.
don't lead, don't let your action
Yeah.
be based in sadness.
Don't mope in it.
Yeah, like if you're angry, be mad. Like it made you mad. Don't be mad. Fix your face. No, you fix your face. But don't let that anger dictate the move that you'll regret.
Right.
If you're afraid, you have a decision to make, but understand that fear doesn't have to lead that decision. The situation can lead the decision.
Right.
And then what I'm learning, and shout out to some real close friends of mine, Sam Davis, Chris Davis, Greg Campbell, Jasmine Cochran, they're teaching me that transparency and same page doesn't mean I have to agree with what
Right.
you're doing.
It doesn't.
means
Right.
we need to understand
There you go.
which way we're going. And if you can speak to people in transparency and be who you are in what you say,
Right.
not in what you project,
Right.
people will always rock with you. And relationships and people get you further and more things than things ever could.
Right.
With that being said, we are so excited to be back on the air beyond the noise. The ice couldn't keep us away, the rain couldn't keep us away, the roads couldn't keep us away, Kenny couldn't keep me away. So we gotta make sure that we see you guys next Monday. Shout out to Paul Robinson for being here with us. Shout out Miss P. Kenny. We're so excited about it. Next Monday we rock and roll again on Beyond the Noise.